Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got a new setup to test, and it's one that I'm really excited to see what it can actually do. I know a lot of you guys have requested to see some stuff like this, so finally found the right deal at the right time, so let's make it happen. So as for the setup we've got out here today, I picked up one of these. This is a Stevens 301 20 gauge. Now eventually we will probably put a red dot on here, but for today's test the bead sight is going to work just fine anyway. And as for a choke, we will be testing it with the stock extra full turkey choke that it comes with. I do have some plans for some other chokes on the way soon, but for today we'll start out with the stock turkey choke that the gun came with. So I'm definitely excited to see what this new 20 gauge 301 can actually do. Hopefully we can see a pretty good pattern out of it, as long as that stock choke is willing to perform for us anyway. And as for the ammo we got out here today, I ran down to my local Cabela's and picked up some of the Herter's TSS shells, simply because they were pretty quick and easy to get, really. But at the end of the day, these Herter shells have done fantastic for us in pretty well all of our tests previously, so I expect to see a pretty decent pattern out of them again today. Now these ones in particular are a 20 gauge 3-inch ounce and a half of number 9 TSS shot, moving about 1200 feet per second. So hopefully the Herters will continue to perform, and hopefully they do pretty well through that 301 with the stock choke. At least that's the hope for today. So as for our test today, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our speed and how close it is to the 1200 that they claim on the box. So let's get you guys set up with the view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually perform. I have some high hopes for this new 301 with these Herter shells, because we should be able to get a pretty good pattern out of it today. But I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to shoot it. So let's head over here and take our shot and see what kind of results we can get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1171 through the chrono. The box claims 1200, so 29 feet per second under their claim is still within their ballpark, I'd say. Overall, 1171, not a bad velocity to be at. So I definitely don't think there's anything too out of the ordinary up here, but how well did that 301 actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we do have a dead bird. There are, 4 in the brain there, and a couple more that hit down the spine. So absolutely a dead bird. Now, looking at the pattern, we might have favored just a touch off to the right, but our core area over here does look pretty good. I mean, it's not a super hot baseball tight core. It is much more on the open side. That would probably be favorable to somebody that would prefer a little bit more leeway. But overall, it's pretty even and consistent. There's not really any big voids right through that core area that I'd be concerned about. Now, backing up and looking at the overall pattern, overall here, it's quite a bit more towards the open side than some of your other turkey shells or turkey chokes or whatever might be. We definitely see some of these little flyers down at the bottom, and maybe a few over there off the left edge as well. That's not too unusual for these Herter shells, but I think overall here, this pattern is quite a bit more on the open side, most likely because of that stock choke. I don't think that stock choke is quite as tight as some aftermarket turkey chokes out there. I think that's probably somewhere between 585 and 590 range. So I really want to see what this combo can do when you get down to 565, 570, that kind of range, because I think that's where these are really going to come to life. But with that being said, if you just went to Cabela's and bought one of these 301s with a box of the Herter's 20 gauge, you probably would have a turkey killing setup out to 40 yards. I mean, that one right there, I wouldn't be scared to hunt with it, especially if I was hunting close quarters or something like that, where I know my shot's going to be inside of 40 yards. That's going to give you quite a bit of leeway while not being completely blown open or put you in too much danger of hitting another bird. So I like the pattern, although I definitely think we can get a whole lot better than that. But for somebody that likes a little bit more even, a little bit wider of a spread pattern, that's a pretty good looking pattern in my opinion. So I definitely think we're off to a pretty decent starting point here anyway. We can absolutely get way better than this, but at least we found a good starting point, I'd say. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, I guess the 20 gauge ones are back to this white color, the 12 gauge ones are orange, but the 410s are the same white color. But either way, it looks pretty much typical for a herder's wad. No rips or tears, and just judging by some of the scuff marks and stuff, I definitely think that stock choke is a little bit leaning towards the more open side, which doesn't surprise me. But either way, not really anything too special to see. Didn't open up perfectly even, but still nothing I'm too worried about. But overall, looks pretty average and not really anything too special to point out. Alright, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance there? It's definitely a little bit more on the open side, but I'm not surprised about that with it being the stock choke either. For somebody that's close quarters hunting or likes a little bit more leeway in their pattern, a little bit more even overall pattern, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I think, although we didn't see that super hot baseball tight turkey pattern necessarily, this is a very good starting point anyway. And I think as we get some more loads and chokes for that setup, I think it's going to be a pretty good performer. But as always, let me know your thoughts about it. Is that about what you're expecting to see? Were you hoping for better or expecting a little bit worse? And if you have one of these 301 20 gauges, what kind of performance have you got? And maybe what shell and choke combo works well for you? Let me know all that down below. But we do have some more shells and chokes on the way for this setup, so I'm definitely excited to see how well we can actually get this to pattern. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.